We're on the air. I'll call the Londonderry Planning Board meeting to order for November 3rd, 2021. And I just want to point out for everyone who is here that this room has two exits. They're on the right-hand side of the audience. They're at the front of the room, the back of the room. If we have to evacuate for any reason, we ask you to please proceed to the exit closest to you, move outside, don't move into the building, and don't come back in till our fire officials have instructed us to do so. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise. We'll pledge allegiance to the American flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Linda has informed me he's not going to be here tonight. I haven't seen Roger. I think Roger
I don't
was.
think Roger's going to be here this evening.
He was
either.
away. And Bruce, I think he's probably on duty, so we'll appoint Jason to vote for Chris's open position.
Okay.
So it gives us 8 voting members. We have a quorum, and we can proceed with this meeting. Tonight, we have first part of the administrative board work where we get our business done, and then we have 3 new plans. They are design review and public hearings, and that should wrap things up. So we'll proceed to administrative board work, and the first item under that is approval of minutes. We have October 6th, 2021, and October 13th, 2021. And we'll take those separately in case someone wants to abstain who was absent from one of those meetings.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the minutes of October 6, 2021.
Second?
By Al, second by Jake. Any discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Abstentions? And the chair votes affirmative. Minutes of October 6, 2021 are officially approved.
Mr. Chairman, motion to approve the minutes of October 13, 2021.
Second?
Motion by Al, second by Jake. Any discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Abstentions?
Abstain.
Ann abstains because Ann was not at the meeting. And chair votes affirmative, and the minutes of October 13th, 2021 are approved. Regional impact determinations, I believe we don't have any.
We do have one this evening. So this is an application for design review of a subdivision plan to subdivide 61 Rockingham Road, map 13, lot 60, zone C2, from 1 lot into 2. RC Enterprise LLC is the owner and Freestone Holdings LLC is the applicant. Because the project did not meet any of the criteria recommended by the Regional Planning Commission, staff recommends the planning board find that this is not a development of regional impact.
Mr. Chairman, motion that this development does not meet the requirements of regional impact.
Motion by Al.
Second?
Second by Jake. Any discussion by the board? Questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Abstentions, chair is affirmative, and the item is not of regional impact. And we have discussions with our town staff.
So I have one additional item. We received a extension request for a site plan. This is a site plan which has been signed and approved at 3 Akira Way. This project has received a couple of extensions in the past. They are asking for another 2-year extension. Our site plan regulations require under section 7.06 D1I require that active and substantial development be completed within a period of 2 years from the date of site plan approval. At this time, it's approximately a 10,000 square foot warehouse light manufacturing building that's been approved, and there just has not been any interest in moving forward right now at this point. So the applicant is requesting an additional 2 years. Staff does support granting that extension for 2 years because there's nothing in our regulations that has changed since the plan was approved that would render it no longer in compliance with the regulations, and also because the applicant has continued to, there is a restoration bond that's been posted and that they've been renewing regularly, so we do have that financial guarantee in place. So we'd recommend that the planning board make a motion to allow an additional 2 years for that project to begin active and substantial development. And that would be, it's set to expire December 4th, 2021, so the 2 years would give them till December 4th, 2023.
Okay.
So move.
Okay, motion by Al,
Second?
second by Jake. Any discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, and chair votes affirmative. Motion carries, and it has been extended to the 4th of December, 2023.
Great, thank you.
Sounds so far away, but it'll be here tomorrow. Okay, anything else from staff?
That's all that I have.
Okay, all set?
All set, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anything from the board? We'll proceed with our meeting. First item we have is a public hearing on an application for a formal review of a site plan amendment. This is for the change of use for equipment sales, rental, and service, parking lot reconfiguration, outdoor display, and storage areas and associated improvements at 2 Rebel Road and 345 Derry Road, tax map 101, lots 18 and 19. This is on Business District 8 in Hudson, and 307 Nashville Road, Londonderry, tax map 2, lot 34A. This is zone commercial 2, and Route 102 Performance Overlay District. Bobcat of New Hampshire is the applicant, and Malmar LLC is the owner, pardon me. And we need to check for completeness.
So, Mr. Chair, there are no outstanding checklist items, and staff recommends the application be accepted as complete.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, motion by Al for completeness.
Second?
Second by Jake. Any discussion on completeness by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, and chair votes affirmative, and the application is complete according to our specifications. And what this does, it starts the public hearing and public presentation, and also the 65-day timeframe in which this board has to render a decision. And who is going to be doing the presenting? And just need you gentlemen to identify yourselves and name and address.
Good evening, Chairman Rugg. My name is Jason Hill I'm a civil engineer with TF Moran out of Bedford, New Hampshire. I'm here with Pete DeTone, who's a representative of Bobcat of New Hampshire, who's the applicant of this project. I presume this is the package,
Yep.
Colleen? Okay,
This is what we
thanks.
sent over.
So, yeah, we're here tonight, as you described, for an amendment to basically relocate the Bobcat of New Hampshire dealership, which is currently located in Hudson at the southwest corner of this intersection of Rebel Road, Tracy Lane, and New Hampshire Route 102. They formerly occupied the interior, I guess, of the southwest quadrant, opposite the Reed's Ferry sites. And so, as part of this project, we're relocating that dealership to 2 parcels of land, contiguous parcels. Majority of the land is in Hudson, 2 tax map and lots. So this would occupy 2 parcels on the east side of Route 102. Formerly, the DeBowick Excavation had a contractor's shop in Londonderry, the parcel was bisected. So DeBowick, which I'll call the north parcel, is partially in Londonderry, partially in Hudson. We're proposing to convert that into basically a new equipment sales and leasing office, that existing building, improve the surrounding, there's an existing parking lot and the storage area. Could you flip to just the street view pictures if you have the series, just briefly, and just walk, yeah. So here's a view from Rebel Road looking north at the former Reed's Ferry building. There's the view from the Rebel Road, Route 101, 102, Route 102 intersection looking directly north at the former Reed's Ferry facility. This is on the Hudson side. This is looking into the Reed's Ferry from Route 102. And then the next two slides will show, you can skip that. So here's basically the southern edge of the Londonderry parcel. On the left-hand side is the DeBowick facility. Here's the center shot of this is the site in Londonderry, the proposed new dealership, sales office and rental, looking east from Route 102, and here's the existing curb cut to that parcel, which you can see there was formerly the DeBowick Excavation Contractors Office and Storage Yard. So we're redeveloping, proposing to change the use of that DeBowick facility from the contractor's shop to Bobcat equipment rental and leasing. We are proposing to, excuse me here, I'm just gonna look through the square footages. It's, so the Hudson parcel will be reconfigured. That'll be a used equipment sales and like repairs shop in that building. And the northern Londonderry parcel will be new equipment sales, leasing. And there'll be a detail shop, which is located in the former, there was a garage bay, yeah, where the cursor sits. And then we're proposing a new site interconnected driveway to keep the traffic. Basically, this functions as a single entity, but with the two divisions being separate. We're proposing a driveway interconnection to facilitate, truck access and circulation between the two parcels, keeping the traffic off of Route 102. And finally, in Hudson, but on the Londonderry, the northern parcel, we're gonna be proposing to basically re-gravel some of the southern site, which is formerly used for storage of contractor equipment and such. So we're gonna regrade and resurface that area, build a detention pond in Hudson. So really tonight, the scope of work in Londonderry is limited to the change in use of the existing DeBowick facility. We're gonna propose to store display equipment on the west side between along the frontage of Route 102 where the cursor is located. That'll be new equipment display area. Which will be a stone, just a finished gravel stone surface. And then we're paving a portion of existing grass in the south. Basically, that's for just access and circulation and storage of dry goods materials. So there'll be some paving occurring directly south of the existing building, which is currently just a lawn area. But we're proposing those things. We're dealing with Hudson in terms of in the planning board process with Hudson Planning Board. We're working out the final details with them, as well as a final review of their third-party engineering review. And we've met with the conservation group in Hudson, so we're basically wrapping up our site plan and hope to have that completed later this month. And we're also proposing to meet with, because of the way the ordinance is written, with regards to this tract, which currently exists within the corridor, the Route 102 Performance District. There's language in the ordinance that basically, due to the size of this parcel being limited, the display of goods in front of the building is not permitted due to the size of the parcel being in the business district, although it's formerly been used for storage of trucks and things by the former contractor. We're going to the zoning board of Londonderry in a few weeks to get a variance for that proposed use.
Okay, so that'd be a condition of, if we're going to grant conditional approval, it'd be a condition.
Yes.
So we proposed I'm just gonna wrap this up with a brief, traffic is already on the roads, it's existing on the other quadrant, it's limited. there's no anticipated impacts of traffic, and having the site drive, the new site interconnection is both essential to how their operations, to allow them to efficiently operate, as well as it keeps the traffic out of that intersection. You know, that would have to go through the Rebel Road 102 Tracy intersection. It removes all that flow through that intersection, which is a benefit, obviously, to that highway. And finally, there'll be some modest upgrades to the facade of the building. There'll be no, was specific to the DeBowick Londonderry site. There's no proposed building additions. There'll be just probably some paint upgrades to the facade, but no significant additions or anything of that nature. We are proposing some landscaping, screening, for screening of the display area to a certain degree. We're proposing some shrubbery, some low-growing shrubbery that's basically along the full breadth of the display zone, which is going to be located in front of an existing split rail fence. And then some new shade trees. There's a small parking area. We're proposing some shade trees as well as an infill of, there's a strip of land to the north, yes, there, that's existing grass. We'll be proposing to infill that with some shrubbery and some shade trees. So I think the end result of this development will make the curb appeal of this block much nicer. Not that it's ugly, but the general improvements will have a positive effect on the neighborhood. That's pretty much the overall scope of the project.
Okay. I just want to point out, this property is, planned is in 2 towns. Each town has to, give approval of it, and that's
Yes.
is in each respective town. So I don't think Hudson's had a meeting on this yet.
We've had one meeting in August, September. It was continued due to just the third-party comments coming in, which we've received, we've responded to, and we're on the agenda for which should be the final hearing on the 17th of November.
Okay. What I'm going to do, we're going to go to staff, get their input. We're going to do the board, get the board's input, and then to the abutters and anyone from the public who has input. So, Colleen?
Sure. So, Mr. Chair, members of the board, one item Jason didn't mention, because it's very minor, is that there is a waiver request associated with this application. Our regulations require the plan layout in a particular manner that requires signature blocks on the right-hand side of the page. Hudson's regulations require signature blocks on the left-hand side of the page. Somebody needs to be flexible here, so we recommend granting the waiver to move the signature blocks to the other side of the page. As Jason said, though this property is in the performance overlay district, because of the size of the parcel, it's not subject to the performance overlay district criteria, and instead is governed by the general C2 criteria, which does require that there not be any display or storage in front of the building. So as Jason said, they are going to the ZBA in November. So if the board does grant conditional approval this evening, then that approval would be conditioned upon receiving the variance from the ZBA. The ZBA does often look to the planning board for something like this. The ordinance does state that appropriate screening be provided. So I'd look for the board if you feel that any additional input or screening, including that as a condition of approval, would be appropriate. They are planting some low shrubs there that trying to balance. They want visibility of the equipment. We're looking for screening of the property. So if the board does have any additional input on that, I'd recommend you offer that this evening. We are recommending that all permits and approvals be obtained and noted on the plan. They are working with DOT to update the existing driveway permit. We're asking that all planning and engineering comments of the town of Hudson and their third-party engineer shall be addressed, and Hudson approval be obtained. We did not do our own third-party engineering review on this project because most of the improvements and all the drainage is taking place in Hudson. We are deferring to their third-party engineer rather than duplicating the review efforts. other items, owner signature be provided on the plans, a complete final drainage report be provided, and a few other financial guarantees to the satisfaction of engineering and environmental services. That's all that I have.
Okay, anything to add, Jose?
We have no engineering comments with all the drainage flowing to Hudson and the roadway going into, or the driveway in Londonderry going into the state highway. The few minor comments we had have been addressed.
Okay, that's, I think, where the bulk of the activity on this is taking place is is Hudson. Okay, I'll start with Ann.
I just have a question about the size of the equipment. You're looking for that waiver request from zoning. What do you plan on having out front? I'm just curious.
It's I think almost 100% skid steer, Bobcat skid
Yeah,
steers.
compact, mid-size.
Yeah, because I was wondering if it's going to block the view of the building, if it's
No.
massive or it's small, and how much equipment you plan out there.
Say a dozen.
Half a dozen to a dozen when we can get equipment.
Okay,
But
just,
it's compact equipment. It's not heavy equipment.
okay. Thank you very much. That's it.
All set, Ann? Okay, Deb?
Do you have, I mean, I'm counting parking spots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1 handicapped. Is that all you need? Am I looking at this wrong?
No, they have sufficient parking under our parking calculations for what they would need there.
But that's also where they're gonna be showing the product, correct?
No, the product will be in front of it's proposed to be in front of the building.
Oh, in that gray,
In the-
and then the
Yeah,
gray
the gray
area.
area,
And that
so-
gray area is what material again?
It's a gravel or a stone.
Okay, and these
Crushed stone.
equipments that you're storing there, do they have oils and stuff in them already, or are they
The-
empty?
The new stuff is,
Partial.
I'm sorry?
Partial,
Partial?
because they come
I just have a
new.
concern with the leaking into groundwater with gravel. I mean, I'm all for gravel, but when something's sitting for a while, it may leak. And
we're proposing that a majority of the site, as it's shown in dark gray there, that's going to be where the loading occurs when they bring new equipment and it's delivered to the site, unloaded and unloaded. Be hard pack asphalt, and we're proposing that the drainage from the full site, including the front gravel area where where the new equipment will be stored, is going to be collected into a closed drainage system that has oil gas trap hood devices for removal of any of those oil gas before it's transmitted to the detention pond. So we have components of the proposed drainage system to address that concern.
So you're saying everything's gonna drain inwards like this?
Yeah, so it's not shown on this plan because it's a landscaping plan, but there's a catch basin in the middle, basically on the town line, that all the flow from the storage, from all the drainage from where the equipment will be displayed, as well as the whole yard, the service yard, is drained into a catch basin. So there's a catch basin at the low point of that area where all of the water will be collected.
Okay.
That is outfitted with an oil gas hood device, which will basically, it lets all those materials float on top and the clean water gets bypassed downstream. And that is the stormwater management system. And then that's routed to it's not an infiltration pond, but a filtration pond, because we had high groundwater and soils issues. But so there's a filtration pond at the low point of the site that'll handle removal of sand and things from winter operations.
Okay.
So that oil gas issue has been addressed through the design. of
Well,
the
that's
storm.
good for the pervious area, but you're parking things that have oil, gas, and other fluids on gravel. How is that being addressed?
Well, the gravel is gonna be compacted
Okay,
to 95%, with a roller. So it's effectively a 98 curve number.
so
It's
you're
not
saying
like
that the
a-
gravel would be non-pervious?
I'm saying that it doesn't infiltrate. If you're proposing a hard pad gravel, it's like a driveway. It's an impervious surface. It's designed to sheet flow into a catch basin and not be transmitted to the ground. That's just the proposed
Yeah,
stormwater, which has been.
Again, I'm normally
Yeah.
for that. I just worry when something's sitting. We know we have like crazy mice and rodents that eat hoses and lines, and
So we'll
things
comply
leak
with,
out when things are
Yeah.
sitting, and I just concerned, and I don't know if I totally buy that nothing will seep through that gravel, but, okay.
I can say that the town of Hudson's third-party, the engineer consultant is reviewing and making recommendations based on the drainage design, and that the design complies with state and federal regulations and local regarding those practices and what the treatment methodologies and effective state, I guess you could say, relative AOT standards that would apply to this project.
And for the traffic, you don't think with a new facility with nice new shiny trucks in there, you're gonna get more people than you normally would get? It's just that the in and out of that is a pretty concerning area.
We anticipate that the proposed activity on the site will be consistent with what's currently there, which is 25 to 30 customers per day, kind of averaged throughout the site there's no true peak as you'd have with like a retail use. So it's distributed equally throughout the day. There's no anticipated like significant peak load that's going to occur as you would have with like a retail site that would put a burden or change the nature of flow through that intersection and cause delays for exiting movements. So,
And that it would include Saturday?
yeah,
'Cause I would think
Saturday,
Saturday would be the,
Saturday, Sunday, we're closed.
yeah.
oh, you are?
And no intentions of,
I
changing
don't
that.
know, so that's
No,
a good thing that
certainly.
you said that.
And I did,
Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30.
we did submit
Thank you.
a trip generation report. It should be on record with the town that evaluates the existing and relocated facilities and the nature of the trip distribution in this area to detail that more about what I've said tonight.
And you're not gonna be adding any new signage or bigger signage, or, I'm just asking because
Yeah.
it seems to pop up a lot lately.
So-
Later,
Yeah, in the back part of the plan, the sign is there.
but you're not gonna be looking for some up on the front?
On the actual structure itself,
Yeah,
not at this time, we're not proposing any of that. There's the existing DeBowick sign that we have tarped right now, but we are working with, I believe her name is Libby, in the office upstairs, to finalize the permit for the entrance sign.
okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All set, Deb?
Yep, thank you.
Jeff?
No, I'm okay with the curb repeal. I think it'd be a nice welcoming thing for the town. Just to kind of quickly, could you just kind of walk me through your process of why you chose the compacted gravel versus any other options, just for my own kind of understanding there, regarding on the where the display Bobcats are going to be. Kind of
Just
located.
wasn't necessary to finish that with hot mix. It wasn't any, where the traffic maneuvering areas where the large trucks are gonna be coming in and making turning movements and delivering equipment, those areas need to be handled with a bituminous finish. So areas where there's limited turning and there's limited heavy truck traffic or traffic loads are not necessarily need to be finished with an additional layer of mix. And it's still an attractive finish, similar to how it's being done, I believe, in Hudson today. It's a gravel.
Yeah,
some
as
of
well
it's-
as our Chichester location. It holds up better with the turning, like Jason said, with the machines over time, because then you can just compact it down again, so. It's more of a sustainability.
Yeah, thank you. I I was just kind of curious on, what that
Sure.
decision-making process was.
Sure, yeah, it's really just the nature of the traffic loads and traffic, anticipated traffic usage in those zones.
That makes sense. All right, I'm all set, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Al?
Yeah, it's got a question for the staff. Are you guys comfortable with that compacted ground?
Yeah, it's certainly not uncommon. And as the applicant's engineer said, the curve number is near 98. It's very similar to pavement. So I don't know that it's exactly the same, but it's enough so that it does satisfy state requirements.
Okay, thank
We
you.
also designed the drainage system, not to say too much, wear this out too much, but the pond itself in Hudson has been designed to accept that as if it was paved and impervious. So we're not trying to take credit and double dip with saying it's open space versus not. So the capacity is such that it was the same effective curve number,
Okay, thank you.
Johnny?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Jason?
I just have on this package, so 13, 14, and 15 are photos, like what are those photos of, especially number 15 there? Is
Oh, that's not relevant to this.
That's our Chichester location. That's our location in Chichester.
okay, all right.
It's like, that doesn't look like.
But that's not what this is gonna look like, right?
It's not relevant to this application. It was
Okay.
meant to have been clipped.
Okay. All right, beyond that, okay.
Okay, Jake?
Do you guys plan on having any, like fuel storage tanks on site, anything like that?
Yes.
Holding tanks for diesel or whatnot?
So on the new retrofitted building in Hudson, there will be a proposed waste oil tank and diesel tank for heating system and just storage. And those are proposed to be, they're shown on this plan lightly on the north, right-hand north corner of the building to be in under a covered canopy, and they're proposed to be in a spill enclosure, a concrete tank for secondary containment.
Yep.
So in Hudson, we are proposing that type of use for
So
heating.
that's to reuse waste oil for heating type thing?
Yeah, and so the capacity is low, it's under 1,300 gallons, so there's no, the permitting involved is limited to like containment and things of that nature, and that's been evaluated.
And that has all the proper enclosures around it for spilling and whatnot?
There's a concrete
Yeah,
tank,
it's-
which
yeah.
has at least the capacity of the largest tank.
Okay. Will there be any type of diesel tank on site, diesel holding tank?
No.
No? Okay. For their drainage, obviously, it sounds like Hudson's kind of handling the most of that. Does Hudson's requirements meet our standard of a requirement, or are they meet or exceeded, or are they?
They're similar, and that's, in looking at it, it seemed reasonable, and especially
Yeah.
since everything's being routed to Hudson, and that's where the treatment is actually occurring,
Yeah.
to let it default to their requirement.
Okay.
And the receiving water is Hudson, so like the discharge from the site is also in Hudson.
Okay. I do think having gravel there isn't a bad idea, just knowing how the compact equipment works and the skid steers that, when it's on asphalt, essentially it's gonna, over time, just fall, break down, and
Especially in
fall
July.
apart. Whereas with the gravel, when that does happen, you've got the ability to clean it up, repack it. So I can certainly see why you did it that way. And then just that bottom section, it looks like there's just 4 storage containers there. Is that what we're looking at?
Yep.
Okay. I think I'm good.
Okay, good. Are there any abutters or anyone from the public have any questions, comments, concerns in regards to this site plan amendment? I don't see anyone, so we'll bring it back to the board for,
Mr. Chair, if
board
I think
discussion.
the only item that I left out, if I can just, because of the timing on this application, The applicant did not go to the Heritage Commission at their last meeting in September. They are on the Heritage Commission agenda for November. That meeting will take place after the zoning meeting. So we have also included a recommended condition of approval that any comments of the Heritage Commission, what they're typically looking at is landscaping, screening, that type of
And
thing.
it's- yeah,
So
signage
if
also.
Heritage has any comments, that those DRC comments be incorporated as conditions of approval as well.
So, we have one waiver to deal with, and then, conditional approval if the board, so sees fit.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a, excuse me, motion to grant the waiver to the site plan regulations as outlined in the staff recommendation memorandum dated November 3rd, 2021.
Motion by Al.
Second.
Second by Jake. Any discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Abstentions? It was affirmative, and the waiver has been
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to grant conditional approval of the site plan amendment for a change of use for equipment sales, rental and service, parking lot reconfiguration, outdoor display and storage areas and associated site improvements to Rebel Road and 345 Dairy Road, map 101, lots 18 and 19, Zone Business District B, Hudson, and 307 Nashua Road, Londonderry, map 2, Lot 34A, Zone C2 and Route 102, POD, Bobcat of New Hampshire applicant and Malmar LLC owner, in accordance with plans prepared by TF Moran Incorporated dated July 26, 2021, last revised September 24, 2021, with the following precedent conditions to be fulfilled within 120 days, and prior to plan signature and subsequent conditions to be fulfilled as noted in the staff recommendation memorandum dated November 3rd, 2021.
Second.
okay. Motion by Al, second by Jeff. You have to get it in there quick.
Stealing my thunder, Jeff.
Yeah, some meetings I attend, it happens very fast. So it's like, blah, blah, blah. So I have a motion and a second for conditional approval. Any discussion by the board? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Abstentions? And chair votes affirmative, and the site plan amendment has been conditionally approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you're gonna have to visit the Heritage Commission and the ZBA.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next we have is a public hearing for a non-binding review and discussion in accordance with RSA 674:54 and the Town of Londonderry and Manchester Airport Authority intermunicipal agreement for review of construction of a new 1,536 square foot modular office and 2 new covered carports at number 12 Pettingill Road and Harvey Road, tax map 14, lot 45-1. This is Zone Gateway Business District and Airport Overlay District. Manchester Airport Authority is the owner and Enterprise Rent-A-Car is the applicant. And we have to, I guess, this is a little different because it's between two governmental entities, and also it is covered by, it's really controlled by the airport.
So similar to last month's meeting, as an aeronautical facility in the intermunicipal agreement explicitly identifies car rental facilities as aeronautical facilities. They are exempt from our site plan regulations, so this is a non-binding review and discussion. Staff have reviewed the plans submitted by the applicant, will have some comments, but it's an opportunity for the board to review and provide input on the project.
Yeah, that's how we know what's going on there also, but it's just basically a discussion back and forth. When they offer ideas, it's up to you to do with them what you want. And one thing I always let you know is work with staff, please. Just introduce yourselves, name and addresses, please.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board and staff. My name is Dave Briette, and I'm an engineer with McFarland and Johnson. With me is Becky Marcinkovich. Sorry, I had to practice that. And she's with Enterprise. She's the properties manager and her office is over at the airport on Aviation Drive. So this site plan is relatively simple. Just to give you a quick background on this site was developed in 2005, 2006. The original intent was for a parking facility for the airport. It's since, after they built the garage, it's since been converted, and it's now a lease for the enterprise operations. Currently, they have an existing trailer over on the right-hand side that they use as office space. Majority of the site is just storage of parking vehicles. It's my understanding that this facility is a holding facility for vehicles that are coming in to be transferred before they're sold. So they come in from the different areas, where they lease out the vehicles, and they come back here, and they get processed, and they get shipped out. So essentially, the plan back in 2007 came to the board, made the presentations. All of the construction was in accordance with the site-specific rules in New Hampshire. The drainage was taken care of. There was 2 drainage detention basins that service that to provide flow from the parking lot areas. The flow generally occurs from the north or southeast, and it heads over towards it would be the northwest. The new facility, or the new modular office building, is going to be located on the other side, indicated as shown. In support of that, there's 2 they're temporary overhead carport structures, and the intent of those is just to drive in, inventory the vehicle, and drive out. So it's just a covering, just in case of inclement weather, that they can process and service the cars. We've provided based on comments, we met with the staff earlier this year, and they had comments about ensuring that we had an updated boundary plan, that we had an updated as-built plan of the whole site to make sure that it's consistent with all the approvals that were done prior. The part of the site is within the overlay approach of the runway. The runway is to the north as you're going down. I think that's the end of the film, but it's basically on the other side of Pettingill Road, and that's the approach on the 3-5 end. So there is a restriction area, but we've already satisfied FAA with the determination when this was constructed in 2007. So we do have an FAA determination, and we're going to get an update of that. The building that we're constructing is definitely lower than the light poles that are in the parking lot area, so there's no impact, and it's actually outside of the approach zone. There's existing water and existing sewer that runs through an easement that goes from the south to the north. So we've got water, sewer. It's, again, it's a simple Scotsman-Williams type structure. It'll just be on a concrete pad. There's some renderings of the building itself. It's pretty much, just a simple, ordinary building. And I think I've addressed everything. We've also, when we did an updated as-built plan, we had the wetlands redelineated so that we could check and make sure all the setbacks were satisfied, and et cetera. So we presented all of this on a plan to satisfy your requirements. And so we're here just as a courtesy, just to give you an update of what's going on. Again, there's not a lot of new construction on the site. It's just basically a new building. The only construction is really for the service connections for the water and the sewer. And at that point, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to staff for input, board for input, and then to the public for input. And you can comments for sure. So, Jose?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did review the drawings that were submitted. We have some comments. I'll just kind of go through the highlights rather than getting into every detail. I believe the applicant mentioned they were going to submit a drainage report, but we haven't received it yet. So we recommend that they submit that drainage report. We recommend the applicant submit a traffic impact analysis. It looks like, it's not going to be a whole lot changing there, but we do recommend that. A sewer discharge permit's going to be required for the new connection. And it's actually, it's going to be a little bit more complicated maybe than anticipated. It's fairly deep interceptor sewer, ductile iron, and we're going to recommend that.
Yeah, on the plan, we initially showed it right into that interceptor. There is opportunity to go and connect. We looked at the grades. You can go connect into the existing service connection there, and we can make. that
Around
change.
the detention pond? Or?
Yeah, around the detention pond and going back down.
Okay. We just
so-
ask that you work with the sewer department
Yeah,
on those
I've
details.
reached out to
Bob Carey.
and so when we submit the final permit application for the septic connection permit, we'll make sure to take care of those
All right.
details.
Thank you. And regarding the connections also, the water connection there is actually a 16-inch cooling water line for the AES power plant. So we'll just recommend that you guys work with Manchester Water Works for a suitable
Yep.
potable water location. Got that one. And then that's more or less it, and then just a handful of comments on the construction details that don't need to get into here, but they'll be submitted.
Okay. Now, for the drainage analysis, do you need just confirmation that it was built in accordance with the permit that was issued in 2007? Because we do have the site-specific permit. application.
Essentially, if it was built per the approved plan, yeah.
You just need a
that's good.
certification
Yep.
from an engineer.
Yeah.
Okay, we can provide that. Yeah, we've already looked at the details of that, so that's not an issue. And we'll work with the sewer connection. We knew those were, depending on the final location of the site and where the connections would be from the building. We'll
Great.
make sure to work out those details.
Thank you.
What's that? Colleen?
Nope, nothing else to add. We've got a memo that we'll provide to you, Dave, and we
Okay.
can work through any comments as you go ahead.
Okay.
Okay. I'll start with the other end of the board. Jake,
I am all set, sir.
all set. Jason?
Only question is, so there is a trailer up there now.
Correct.
Is that going away?
That'll go away after the new building is installed, correct?
And the building that you're putting in, is it just gray, or is there any branding going on it or anything like that? Or
This is not a retail facility, so we are not branding it. We don't want to attract any customers. It's just an office trailer. We'll be able to provide our employees with a break room, which will be nice.
That's all, thank
Full
you.
relief. Yeah, the Heritage Commission has seen this, and it's the type of building you find at an airport anyway. So it does have earth tones, though. That's,
I think it'll be a little nicer than what's existing there now.
Yeah, right now
Yes.
it's kind of just a trailer.
It's like a construction trailer.
Yeah, originally it was intended for revenue control, so there's revenue control when they originally built it, and some bus shelters as well. you can pick up.
Thank you.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you.
Al?
All set?
I'm all set, Mr. Chair.
Deb?
I'm all set, except, could you put a little shrubbery around it, or no? And I only say this because grass is such a hard thing to keep around. Just for a little bit of green. Maybe it will hide a little bit of the trailer.
Maybe some planters.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I was just thinking, because I know you can't have trees because of but just
height,
small, low, just something.
There's a lot of pavement there, so we might have to do freestanding planters versus actual.
I was just
like,
thinking
mulch.
something. You don't have to. I
Yeah.
just try to spruce it up a little bit, right? So those poor people that are stuck in that room with one toilet and a break room.
They're going to be really happy with the new trailer, let me tell you.
yeah, we have a floor plan if you're interested in seeing that as well.
Thank you.
All set, Deb? Ann?
I have no questions, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public have any questions, comments, concerns in regards to this design review. And I don't see any. And you have the input from the board, and the staff will be giving you input, and I'll just say, work with them, and good luck with the improved facility.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next we have is a public hearing on an application for a conditional use permit for 385,734 square feet of wetland impact and 648,330 square feet of buffer impact for work within the Conservation Overlay District for the proposed replacement of existing utility pole structures within the existing transmission line right-of-way. Public Service Company of New Hampshire, doing business as Eversource Energy, is the applicant. And completeness for this,
Yep, so the staff recommends that the conditional use permit application be accepted as complete.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept the application as complete per staff's recommendation memorandum dated November 3rd, 2021.
okay, motion by Al.
Second.
Second by Jeff. Any discussion on completeness? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Abstentions, and chair votes affirmative. Application has been accepted as complete. This starts the public hearing and the presentation, and also the 65-day timeframe in which this board has to render a decision. So, who is going to be doing the presenting, please? I just need names and addresses, please, for the official record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the board, and staff. My name is Jessica Hunt. I'm here with Stantec, representing Eversource.
I'm Ashley Ruprecht. I'm with Eversource Licensing and Permitting, joined with my Eversource colleagues, Angus Strachan, he's with Engineering, and Kelly Merritt with Community Relations.
So as Chairman Rugg indicated, we are here to discuss the conditional use permit application for work in Londonderry on the transmission line that extends from Hudson to Londonderry. 249 poles are proposed to be replaced, and 22 of those are in wetlands, and 68 of those are in the Conservation Overlay District. We provided a set of maps. We can discuss if there's any questions on any of the mapping. Some of the work is proposed in named wetlands, and the buffers are marked off on each of those. So this is just the index map showing, so if there are any questions on the maps specifically, we can go to them. The work in wetlands is temporary. There will be timber matting, and that will be removed after construction is complete. The pole replacement is all in kind. There's no new pole, no new structures proposed.
Jessica, can you just, the green is the temporary impact, and is the yellow hatching permanent, or how's?
The yellow hatching is the temporary impacts within wetlands. And then there's a green line, actually there's several green lines. So there's a green dotted line showing the buffer, and then just a green solid line showing the wetlands areas. So the Conservation Overlay District is that green dotted line that's kind of extending around. Yeah, exactly. Should I be using a mouse?
No, I've got the mouse.
Okay.
It's just, and this screen is.
I'll need to handle that.
And so the gray with the box, that's showing upland pads. And then the yellow hatching is where the timber matting will be used, and that'll be temporary, and that will be removed after construction.
So the majority of the access that we have is, these corridors are pretty traveled in frequently. So we are utilizing existing access where possible to minimize impacts, placing down timber matting in wetlands when needed to do our work, removing those timber matting and restoring the wetlands by placing seed and mulch.
So the page that you were just on, actually, it's showing that line of yellow hatching right above your cursor is showing an example of timber matting if needed, but in that specific area, the goal will be to not use that area if possible. So in as much as possible, Eversource will be using, as Ashley said, the existing trails. So it's possible that area won't be matted, but we're showing just a conservative worst case. So there's a walking path, I believe, and work is shifted to avoid that path down the center of that one. We could walk map by map, but I figured it would be easier if you just have questions on specific areas. It's a lot of mapping to go through.
So if members of the board, I'm sure you'll get to your questions, but just for the board's information, this has gone to the Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission did recommend approval of the conditional use permit with some conditions incorporated below, requesting just the applicant submit information on the material being used to coat the bottom of the poles. I believe that's already been submitted to staff, asking that when possible, work be done during frozen condition, and work near vernal pools not be done when the pools are active. So the Conservation Commission did support the approval of the conditional use permit. And again, this is not a site plan application to the board. This is just the conditional use application for the work within the Conservation Overlay District and within the wetlands. So it's relative to the wetland impact specifically.
Yeah, we've had, I think, a site plan in the past when they put the extra power line through, which pretty much went through all of Londonderry. But it was the same type of impacts and everything, and the Conservation Commission had reviewed that also and made their recommendations. I mean, this late history is not uncommon. So, any further input from staff? Okay, I'll go through the board. I'll start with Ann.
I have a question you concerning terminology. You define a pole as a structure. I've seen it mentioned as a structure now. Are you going to be taking down those poles with 3 wires on them and replacing them with a structure that has 2 legs, or I'm not sure what you call that? Is, you know, you're going to have 2 legs holding up the structure?
Right, so there is a distinction, there is a difference between structures versus poles. So a structure can be made of several poles, right? We do have dead ends and tangents and things. To answer your question, we are doing in-kind replacements. So if there's 2 poles, there should be 2 poles for the replacement piece of things.
What I've seen out there is, looking at, for example, Hardy Road, I see on the southern portion of the transmission line, structures with 1 pole with 3 wires on them. And on the north side of that transmission line, I see 2-legged structures with 8 lines or wires from them. Which ones are you replacing?
So
For
we're going
example, in that Hardy Road area.
I'm not familiar with the precise location here.
It looks like you're doing the lower ones, the 1 pole ones, according to the diagrams. I'm just trying to understand what you're actually doing there.
Yeah, we're still doing in light, so we'll be doing a lot of these poles are single.
It'd probably be more helpful if you came down to a microphone and just your name and address.
My name is Angus Strachan with Eversource. I'm, the engineer on the project, and for the most part, we're replacing single pole structures with in-kind single pole structures that have, the 3 conductor wires. We don't have any double circuit lines as part of this project. That would be replacing two different transmission lines on one structure.
So the Hardy Road that Ann's referring, and this is, so I don't know if this is part of this project. That's a different transmission line that's not part of this project.
It is part of it, but it's not near wetlands.
So there are 5 transmission lines in this right-of-way. We are working on the 3 that are to the southeast. So I'm not sure if the one you're specifically talking about, or it's one of those other right-of-way or lines in this right-of-way.
Yeah, the southeast ones are all single pole.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are the ones we're working on.
And the ones north of that are double poles.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
some of them they look like they're wood. So you're not going to be touching those in this project.
No, this one's specifically focusing on those monopole structures.
Okay, thank you very much.
The
That's only
laminate
question I
lines,
have.
they're square, they're blocky looking.
Okay, yes, thank you.
All set?
I'm all set.
Okay, Deb?
Thank you. So are you changing the material
Right.
and the height?
It'll be going from the laminated wood to steel poles,
Okay.
and the heights will be decreased up 10 feet from where they are now due to National Electric Safety Code standards.
So they're going to be 10 feet taller than what they are? Is that what you're saying?
Potentially, some of them. In general, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that the Conservation Commission, because I was there, had requested the parking. And I hope you guys followed through with that.
Yep, we are working internally and with the town to follow up on the additional parking at the Musquash Conservation Area. So unfortunately, I don't have an update tonight on where that's at, but I can tell you we are working on that.
Good. I'm glad you're following, because you didn't say any, but I'm glad that you're following through on that. All right, thank you.
Could I ask one last question? How tall are the poles going to be?
Pretty tall.
Depends on exactly where you're looking at, but in general, like I said, it'll be approximately 10 feet taller than what's existing.
Right, but what would that be?
So for existing, and I'll just pull an example here. Got to factor in embedment depth, but in general.
Couldn't find it.
Do you have an idea?
Typically, the monopole structures are a 70-foot pole, and we'll embed that, 15 feet into the ground. So, like 55 foot to,
So the ones you'll be putting in would be about 55 feet
that's
above ground?
Yeah, something around there. But that's kind of, they vary, it's all based on terrain. Some of them, we're going up to kind of clean up a congested area and make it a little better clearances and, safer travel underneath, things like that.
So if you remove a pole and increase the span, sometimes the height might go up, but we've factored in, distances to property owners and spans to other lines, trying to take everything into consideration in the design.
What's the tallest pole you have there?
There's a
Yeah, could you come to the microphone, please?
Sorry.
That's so people
Yep.
watching us can hear.
Sorry about that. Yeah, there's a couple 120-foot poles, I believe.
The monopoles too?
Yeah, yep.
That's
But
120 feet in
And
total length? or
That's the
what's out of
total
ground?
length. Those are embedded about, 18 feet into the ground.
Okay.
So yeah, it's about a 100-foot pole.
Okay.